Welcome back, game developers. Today we are going to give the player the ability to both win and lose the game. To do that, we are going to make two game over screens and program a way for the player to trigger them. If you're new to the channel, we have been making a simple exploration game as a way to learn the basics of Construct 3. If you like, you can download the project files in the description below and code along with us using the free version of Construct 3. Let's start with building our game over screen first. To do that, we're going to need a new layout. So let's right click the layouts folder and do add a layout with an event sheet. Okay. And let's rename it game over screen. Okay, so on our game over screen, we're going to need two things. We're going to need some text to say, you lost. And then we're going to also need our play button so that they can restart the game. So we already have created some text objects, and we can reuse them on different layouts and change their properties. So if you drag your title text onto the screen, you can change its default text to say something else, like game over, you lost, bud. And because it's a game over, let's change the color of it to maybe red, because they lost. Okay, now we need our play button, and we can just reuse our play button from the title screen. Go ahead and pull that over, and let's position that on our screen. And finally, let's change the background color. So to do that, we're going to click our layer, and in its properties bar, we're going to click background color, and we'll select a different color. I'm going to choose black for this one. Yeah, it looks pretty good. All right, we have our game over screen. Now let's make our win screen. To do that, we're going to right click our layouts, and we are going to add another layout with an event sheet. Let's go ahead and rename it win screen. And let's repeat the same steps. Let's drag over our title text object and our play button. Let's change what our text says by clicking our text object and going down to the default properties. And let's say, congrats, you won, bud. Yours can say whatever you want. And I'm going to change the color to maybe a nice yellow because they won. Finally, I'm going to change the background color by clicking the layer and then selecting the background color. I'm going to have this be a nice blue. Okay, we have our game over screen and our win screen. So now let's program a way to actually trigger them. Let's go back to level 1 and let's go to the event sheet, level 1 event sheet. And now let's add a way for the player to die. So when the player's health reaches 0, game over. So let's add an event and let's choose our player. And we're going to check its instance variable. So this was an instance variable we made in a previous tutorial. So we're going to compare the instance variable, and we're going to see if health is equal to 0. If it is, what do we want to have happen? We want to go to our game over screen. So add action, system, go to layout, and then select your game over screen. Okay, now we have a way for the player to die. Let's make a way for the player to win. To do that, we're going to need the fabled chest that we've been referring to in the previous videos. So let's go back to level 1, and now let's create our chest. So double click anywhere in the empty space and add a sprite. And now let's draw a simple chest. So I'm going to use the square tool here And I'm going to create a chest. I'm going to make it brown. And then I'm going to draw a lock on it. All right, there's my chest. It looks horrible, but you know what? It's going to get the job done. So we got our chest. I'm holding shift while I'm resizing it so it keeps its proportions. Let's go ahead and rename it to chest. And let's place it somewhere on the map. Okay, now let's code our win state. Let's make it so the player can actually win the game. So going back to our level 1 code, our level 1 event sheet, let's add an event. And we want to check if the player collides with the chest and they have the key, go to the win screen. So player on collision with another object. Okay, what object? The chest. Okay, and now we want that second condition. So we are going to right click it and add another condition. Okay, and we want to check to see if the player has their key. Okay, so player, let's compare its instance variable, the Boolean. So is the Boolean instance variable set? Okay, has key. That is our only Boolean variable. So now when the player collides with the chest and their Boolean variable is set to true, only then will the action be triggered. Okay, so this is how they win the level. So let's take them to the win screen. So add an action, system. Okay, now we're going to go to layout and we're going to go to the win screen. Okay, so our code now is set up so that once they collide with the key, their Boolean gets set to true. Then when they collide with the chest and their Boolean is set to true, then they can go to the win screen. But if their health reaches 0, they'll go to the game over screen. Now, when they go to the game over screen or the win screen, we want them to have the ability to come back and play the game again. So let's add the code for that. So our game over screen right now is paired with event sheet 1. So let's rename that. And let's call that game over. Okay, and how are they going to get back to the title screen? Well, when they click the button, go back to the title screen. Okay, so add an event. We're going to do mouse on object clicked. Okay, and what are they clicking? They're clicking the play button. Okay, well, what happens when they click the play button? We want them to go back to the title screen. So system, go to layout, and take them to the title screen. Now we're going to have the same code on our win screen. So rather than duplicating it, copying and pasting, or just recreating it, instead we'll go to our win screen and let's pair it with our game over event sheet. Now when you're on the win screen, you'll be using the game over events, which are exactly the same. All right, so let's give our code a test. Let's move back to the title screen and preview it. All right, so now we are testing to see if our game over screen works and if our win screen works. So let's give it a try. Number 1, let's die. Okay, so I'm going to walk over our fire hazard here, and since it has 10 health, I'm going to have to do it 10 times. All right, let's see, last time. Game over, you lost, bud. Wah, wah. All right, let's see if it works. Let's hit the play button. Takes us back to our start screen. Let's hit play. All right, game on. All right, now let's see if we can win the game. To do this, we have to collect the key. and then make our way to the chest without losing all of our health. And I'm kind of forgetting where the key was, and I'm not seeing the chest anywhere. All right, I got the key, but where's our chest? What is going on? I thought the chest was somewhere around here. Something weird happened. Where'd our chest go? I can see it sitting right here, but when we were playing the game, it wasn't there. So let's take a look and see if we can figure out what's going on. I've clicked the chest here, and looking at its properties, I see that it is on the HUD layer. And remember, the HUD layer is frozen, so that means when the player moved, it was always going to be off screen. So let's move our chest down to layer 0, and now it should appear straight on screen. Now, I don't want to waste my time walking around trying to find things again, so I'm going to move the key and the chest right next to each other so that I can test this out real quick. Okay, we've moved the chest back onto the appropriate layer, and now we can see it scrolling correctly, so that's good. All right, so let's grab this key and grab the chest. Look at that, congrats, you won, bud. All right, so in this tutorial, we made a game over screen and a win screen, and we paired them both to the same event sheet, the game over event sheet. We also made a chest that once you collect the key, takes you to the win screen. And we wrote code for that as well. We also wrote code to take you to the game over screen when you lose all of your health. Thumbs up if you learned something new, and I'll see you at the next video.